So I think bland just means what's been normalized and what we see as the norm, and this is how society is, and you can't do that because you'll be like this and you're like that.
So we need to backlash because like
we've been socialized.
We need some flavor. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's a bit of flavor.
Variation.
Spice things up.
All purpose.
All purpose seasoning.
That's my favourite seasoning, that and Maggie cubes. Yeah.
This is Backlash Against The Bland, a series of podcasts answering questions posed by our community online and through live events. Some of these podcasts will be covering those events, and others will be hosting live conversations from our HQ by members of our community and guest experts. Who am I? I'm Bethany Slinn, creative practitioner at Free Radical. And who are Free Radical? Well, we create space for young people to tell their stories about themselves and the world, physically, mentally and digitally. So we had an amazing week last week. We hosted Festival of Audacity, and as part of the festival, in collaboration with BBC Music Day and BBC Asia Network, we produced 24 female artists. We put them on the tram from Wolverhampton to Birmingham, and they passed the mic from stop to stop and did their thing, and we showcased loads of fantastic local female talent, and it was brilliant to have just an all-female lineup. Like, it was buzzing, it was wicked. So to honour that, to bring that to you all to listen to, and also to honour Black History Month, we are theming this podcast around asking the question, what has changed for Black women in music? And so without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to Tia Cham, who is host on New Style radio station every Wednesday from 3 till 6. And she's going to host this conversation because she's a lot more entitled to do that than I am. So over to you.
Hi Bethany, and thanks for that lovely introduction. Now I'm joined with Lady Sanity. Hi, hello. I would list your accolades, but we don't have enough time.
No,
unfortunately.
Thank you. What an intro that in itself.
Thank you. Anyway, so as Bethany mentioned, this podcast is about what's changed in music for Black women. So I asked you that question.
Wow. I feel like things such as social media, technology has made it a lot more easily accessible for Black women and you know, other musicians in general to showcase their music and their talents to a professional degree without any kind of industry acceptance. But I still feel that like there's a big barrier for Black women to kind of overcome with music. You still hear a lot of incidences where, you know, the industry is shunned or, you know, stereotypes Black women in music and, you know, tell them that they're better off doing jobs behind the scenes, songwriting, you know. I've heard of so many situations where that's happened to people. And, you know, it's like their talent is enough, but their image probably doesn't, you know, play the image that they want to see. So it's like, just kind of sit in the back seat. But, you know, that's not right because there are many talented Black women out there.
Of course. So in regards to this question, my answer is almost identical to yours. I feel like social media is a key aspect of it because social media has increased visibility for people of all demographics. But when we're talking about Black women, sometimes in the industry, it may seem very cookie cutter, and certain Black women may not hold the conventions to that. So with social media pushing alternative images and kind of campaigning for people from marginalised groups to be out there and to be represented, I feel like it's helped in terms of visibility. But I do agree that there's a lot more that needs to be done.
Definitely. I mean, it's a big topic, but colorism in particular, you see it affect so many Black women in the industry. And it is that thing where, you know, the darker you are, it's like the harder it is to kind of break through into a professional scene anyway. But, you know, it stems from many things and hopefully it will get better. But I feel like it is that thing. I feel like things like social media will make it better because it is that platform where you're able to showcase yourself no matter what. No one can cut you off of that, you know what I mean? Even if you get deleted or your profile gets deleted, you can always make a new one. So, you know.
Yeah, and I feel like social media has definitely allowed people like yourself to be the gatekeepers and kind of create their own opportunities, which is why I'm proper for social media. I think it's interesting that you talked about colorism, because I feel like colorism is a huge thing when it comes to black women, specifically in the music industry, because as we all know, black music is doing quite well in the UK, you know, with the rise of grime, the Afro swing, Afro beat kind of dancehall thing, which I love. Oh my God.
Definitely. I love that kind of vibe for sure.
Yeah, definitely my favourite genre. However, if you've noticed, some of the most successful black artists being Stormzy, J Hus, and, you know, they're dark-skinned men, they're men that look a certain way. When it comes to black women, do you feel like there's any similar black women popping off here? I can't really see that.
Not to that extent. I mean, you know, you do see a lot of it. I mainly know rappers in it because obviously being a rapper myself, I know a lot of, you know, black female rappers that are doing so well at the moment, but it is that thing like they only feel like they can make it so far. So you know, people like Miss Banks are doing amazing. You've got people like Nadia Rose doing really great. And even Little Sims, but at the same time, I always say this because I've been following Little Sims' journey for the longest time.
Right.
And it's like, I feel like the UK hasn't embraced her and her talents.
Oh, definitely.
To how well she's actually done. Like, she's done some amazing things in her career, and she's you know, an international artist in her own respect, you know what I mean? But I feel like the rest of the world has kind of, especially the US, she's done some big things over there, but she doesn't get that kind of recognition from the UK music scene, and it's kind of like, why? She's not really been, you know, nominated for those big awards, and it's just really puzzling, and I don't get it.
So you mentioned Miss Banks, and you also mentioned Nadia Rose. Well, let's say with Miss Banks, we have, I guess you could say, she's compared to Stefflon Don a lot, and if you've seen Stefflon Don's success compared to Miss Banks, who's doing really well, it's quite disproportionate, and a lot of people do feel like that is due to colorism and certain things that she may hold. What do you think about that?
I agree, and you know, it is that colorism. And even though a lot of people, I feel like I've said it a lot online, and when you do bring up that whole the effects of slavery, it has affected our people so much. And people may say, oh, it happened so long ago, it's not a thing. Do you know what I mean? It is. Do you know how massive that effect has hit people? Exactly. In the mindset of people, it is rooted. So it's that whole thing where we were seen to be enemies with one another. So even though we are black people, it is that thing like the darker you are, it's kind of like you were doing, you know, the labour in fields and this, that, and the other. Lighter skinned black people were able to do housework. So it stemmed from that. And it's kind of like we were set to be enemies rather than have unity. So yeah, stemming back to music, I do think it is that kind of thing where we're not really embracing the darker shades the way that they should be embraced, because they're just as talented.
I also think that does have a lot to do with the idea, the perception of what beauty is.
Definitely.
And, you know, the Eurocentric standard of beauty, because, for example, record labels or whoever, they'll know what the standard of beauty is, and they'll know who they're able to push and who they're not able to push. For example, I've noticed this, and quite a few people, there's this growing trend of, if we're harking back to, you know, the Afrobeat, dancehall swing stuff, you get a lot of collaborations where it's like black boys and a racially ambiguous girl performing a track. Have you noticed, like Mabel, Ray? I'm a fan of those girls, but I think it's quite interesting how it's an Afrobeat, it's a dancehall track, it's very black inspired, but you don't really have black women facing it.
Exactly. I definitely agree with that, and like you said, it's kind of like the culture. They love the culture, but it's like, do you love all of it? It is that question. It does stem to that kind of how closely are you attached to that European kind of standard 100%, of beauty?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's the reason why there is such a disproportion when it comes to successful black men and successful black women in the UK in regards to music, because colorism, in my opinion, it does affect men and women differently. Yeah. Because it's almost like the darker skin is a sign of masculinity. So if you're a man, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
It's almost desired, isn't it? Like, yeah.
But with a black woman, darker skin, you're probably more on the
Yeah, you're seen.
You know
as,
what I mean?
Definitely, it's like a masculine trait, and even like a lot of the times you do hear a lot of people kind of encourage the strength of black women and, you know, the strong mindset and this, that, and the other. But I know it's not music, but if you look at certain things that people say about, you know, people like Serena Williams, this, that, and the other, do you know what I mean? It's like they're strong because that is what their profession needs them to be. But people talk so like down about their image.
Yeah.
It's crazy. No, there's a really, really good video, and I feel like it's so relevant to what's happening for Black UK in particular right now. Gets his video Black Rose dropped, and I feel like it's dropped at the right moment. There's been a lot of controversy around a lady called ZZ Mills.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, so she made a video, and the backlash is basically like Gigs has gone in on her and like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, just basically calling her a bitter black woman.
And a bully as well.
And a bully. Because I think, did it start with her saying that like video vixens and a lot of video girls, I think that's what it stemmed from.
Oh, I thought it was about her talking about, you know, Amelia from Chicken
Right,
Shop
yeah,
Day,
yeah.
and
Right.
saying how she wishes that black men, these black male artists,
Would support
grassroots projects by black women.
Yeah.
Yeah, it started from that.
By that.
Yeah, I have to say though, the Chicken Shop Day is not a grassroots thing, so I do feel like I can understand why people were kind of a bit iffy about her point. But she did have a lot of valid points, and I think the retaliation from black male artists,
I think that was the worst part of it, because at the same time, rather than attacking her, they could have then, you know, given examples to how they've helped, because I know that they have done interviews with people, but rather than saying that, it was like, you're a bitter black woman. And I feel like that stereotype is thrown at so many women just for voicing their opinion and their experiences as black women.
I feel like it's a great way of silencing black women as well.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've been in situations where I've literally been
Bite your tongue,
violated.
Yeah.
Like I've actually been disrespected, but I thought, oh no, people are gonna think, especially when I've been the only black woman as well.
As aggressive and bitter and hold your ground. I mean, I'm always a very chilled person. I've never really, but I remember someone saying to me that they were afraid of me once.
Yeah, I've heard
I was
that.
like, why? I'm like the most chilled person.
I can for that.
Unless you like push boundaries, then like I'm most of the time chilled. So just the fact that this person said that they felt afraid of me for me just kind of being chilled, being myself, I was like, well, why? Do you know what I mean? But there are so many stereotypes that are kind of tarnishing black women, and it's just like, with people like anyone else, people get frustrated.
And the idea of black women being scary as well, it just goes back to not being able to sell black women as artists, because it's like you want to be conventionally beautiful, you want to be all of this, you don't want to sell, you can't sell someone that's scary and aggressive and a bully and bitter.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also harking back to what you said about Gigs and ZZ Mills, so do you feel like black men should be loyal to black women and owe them something in terms of protecting them and
you know what,
collaborating with
not
them?
even in a time, like I feel like if someone was to feel like they owe or something, it wouldn't be authentic. If you feel like you don't do it. But in a sense where I always look at black men in particular as my brothers, black women in particular as my sisters, do you know what I mean? Like, so in the same way that we should have that kind of unity as a race and as human beings, you know what I mean? I feel like they should be protective over anyone. But if you see a fellow person of your own race, you know what I mean, that reminds you of your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, uncles, whatever, then you should feel some kind of way to help them. Like if you don't, then that's cool, but that's how I've been raised, then it's so.
Yeah, and especially I think if they're being disadvantaged by something like race,
then allow them to speak on it and be a voice as well. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't be afraid to be that voice.
So, obviously, we're based in Birmingham. Shout out to Birmingham.
Yes, 121.
How do you think being a black artist, female musician, not based in London, affects your career?
I can make some good points about this, because I think that the fact that London has such a big infrastructure, a lot more opportunities than anywhere else in the UK, it's a great platform. But at the same time, because of that, I feel like a lot of artists then move to London as well. So it's
Yeah.
like those opportunities that are available are very competitive.
And harking back to what you just said, and infrastructure is not being built here because everyone who has the skill as well,
Yeah.
they're like going to London and adding to it.
Exactly,
As
yeah.
opposed to building
Staying
here.
and that's one of the things that I'm trying to champion the most. Like I want to stay in Birmingham. I want to be a part of the movement
Yes.
that, the creative movement that's happening here. I want to see the industry just blossom and bloom. So even if I don't quote make it as an artist, whatever that means, do you know what I mean? I definitely want to be have an insight on the business side, you know what I mean? So as I learn as an artist, I want to then be able to give my knowledge back to another generation of artists that may want to do the same things that I'm doing or do better, hopefully do better.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing. So
Thank
fingers
you.
crossed for you.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with what you're saying. Like, I think the music industry is very London centric. And, that means that black women who have all these factors, as we mentioned, with the colorism and being disadvantaged when it comes to having a career in music, then have location to add to that because all the opportunities are based in the capital city.
Definitely.
And also, I was just watching a documentary on Birmingham and the music scene. And interestingly, Lady Alicia was talking about like the three main things that put her at a disadvantage: being black, being a woman, and being from Birmingham. So I definitely think it's something that affects her to a certain degree. And also, I think when music is produced or anything that's not based in London, there's already this perception of Birmingham, especially with our accents, that it's kind of whack or it's not.
Birmingham.
Like just because it's not from London, it's from Birmingham, there's already this negative perception attached to it from people in London.
For sure, I hear that definitely. And you know what, just touching on that point as well to do with Leisha, shout out Leisha, man, she's amazing inspiration for the city and for black women as a whole. But it is that thing where if there is another female as well that is doing really well, the comparisons that come in, it's crazy. The amount of times that I've been, shout outs to Leisha, like she knows I have nothing but love for her and what she's done, but the amount of times we've been compared to her and I'm like,
I can imagine.
I like your music, but at the same time, we're different kind of rappers, do you know what I mean? And I just find it funny as soon as it's like, okay, well, she's black, she's female, she's from Birmingham, she ticks 3 boxes. she's another Lady Leisha. And I'm like, have you actually listened to my music? Do you know what I mean? But it's funny and it happens all the time. It's crazy how often that happens.
How would you describe your music then?
I'd describe myself as like a conscious rapper. So I know Leisha uses a lot of like
Brush your teeth.
comedy, a lot of brush your teeth. I know she one of her main things, she wanted to showcase the more comical side to music, and I know she does touch up on some deep things as well at times, but I do know that she wanted to bring like fun back to grime. That was her main point. That was her main purpose when she done the Queen's speeches. But with my music, I'm definitely just trying to, almost like poetry, I feel like I'm trying to use a lot more metaphors and talk about topics that are happening now in Birmingham, in the world, and that's my inspiration.
Why is it important to be conscious? Surely, playing devil's advocate, I guess. Surely it would be easier knowing that as a black woman, it's harder to sell in music anyway, to steer away from those topics. Why is it important that you stand strong and you talk about those things?
Because I feel like if no one's going to talk about it, then I definitely should be that change. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a bit of a weird, like, kind of going off topic, but certain things, like I've got a song called Froze, and it's literally about like having Afrocentric features, the fact that cut off my hair, went natural, because little things like that, talking about it can be that inspiration or that that new change of mind that someone else may have. There may be another black girl that feels insecure about those features, and if she's able to hear somebody else talk about it and in a empowering way, she might feel a little bit better about herself. And I've seen the effect that's had on my nieces. When I cut my hair, she honestly was literally in tears. The fact that I cut my hair, I had straight, permed hair, cut it off, started growing my afro, and she didn't like it. And I have to say, like, a couple months down the line, my sister sends me pictures of like when she has her afro out. She's like, look, we're twins today, auntie. And I'm like, it fills me with joy, man. It's like, love yourself how you are.
Definitely. I think that's an amazing message. Now, kind of relating back from this last point, what do you think the appropriation of black music has done to, you're chuckling, has done to black women in the industry?
Okay, so I feel like it's made things harder because the things that were seen as unique to black music or black culture, like that they're no longer exclusive to us. At the same time, you know, of course, music's for everyone, so it's great that these things are now being showcased to different audiences that may not have really listened before. Fantastic. But it's the fact that when black women are being overlooked for you know, something that, you know, by artists that probably aren't as musically good as them, but because they can sell it as, you know, put it in a nice package and sell it and make it a lot more accessible, it's like they're being overlooked for it, and that's where the issue lies for me.
100%. I think also when we talk about appropriation, people try and say, oh no, it's appreciation. But I think there's definitely a thin line. As you said, when black women are being overlooked and when certain things are praised in other demographics and then shunned or ridiculed or mocked, then it's a huge problem. And I think harking back to us talking about racially ambiguous women being able to sell what is organically or what naturally started out as black women's music or being inspired from black women. I think that's a huge problem.
Definitely.
How do you think we go about dealing with that and challenging that?
You know what, a lot to deal with a lot of the topics that we've discussed. I feel like the only thing that we can combat that and make everything stronger is to grow a sisterhood amongst the black artists, black females. Grow a sisterhood, because you can see with especially like a lot of the grime artists that are big names right now. I've watched like Stormzy's journey, do you know what I'm saying? And to see like the bigger artists give him his accolades, this and the other, I feel like that needs to happen now with females, black females in music. If you see somebody that's probably just starting out, then give them a shout, you know what I mean? Connect with them, and not just online, like almost take them under your wing, like invite them to shows, this, that and the other, and it will grow a sisterhood in music. And I think that's so important to just show people that there is unity there. Yeah,
I guess unity is good as opposed to having like a crab mentality.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's like if she makes it, then, you know, she can be the only token, you know, black girl that's doing this. So if she blows, then I can't. Scrap that mentality. It's like if she blows, then we can all do this. If she's got there, I can also get there. Just be you, do you know what I mean? And appreciate those around you.
Speaking of blowing, what local black female musician would you like to see blow?
There are
doing really well?
So many. There are a lot
Whole
that
list.
doing well. Whole list, you know. So my sister called me unique. She's been a massive inspiration on my journey. You've got people like Tremendous doing amazing.
Oh yeah,
Afro Queen, she's so sick. Got people like Afro Queen, another upcoming rapper, Janelle Antonisha, got Jaden Clover, and why with Jazz, Afi Cham. Like, there are so many black females that are doing amazing things for the Birmingham scene right now, so shout out them.
Shout out to them. I do agree that there's so many, but I don't have a whole list, unlike you.
Don't worry, I got you, man. I got you. Just shout me.
I have one name in particular, Letitia Gordon.
Jeez.
Yeah,
you know
her.
I met her, actually, tell a joke, at South Birmingham College. We done like a little course together.
Oh, wow.
Ages ago. I was probably like 16, 17 when we done that.
Oh, that is,
yeah. Like, I'm sure we're the same age, so it's going years back. But she's been talented from there.
Very. And especially, I think, because she's doing, you know, R&B, and that's not a huge genre here.
Not at all.
So it's a bit of a struggle, but she's amazing, really talented.
Her talented showcases, man.
Definitely. I would recommend you check her out as well, anyone listening.
Definitely.
Finally, I have to ask this. What black female artist has been an inspiration to you?
I really had to think about this one because there have been so many, but I wanted to keep it like UK based. So I want to say Estelle, because I remember hearing her song 1980. Like, my sister played a lot of music to me like first time, because she was a teenager when like I was first starting to pick up on music and it. So when UK music was first blowing, she kind of showcased it all to me. So I remember hearing 1980 in particular, and just hearing how well that track was doing. Like, it was being played on radio and that was something that I wasn't used to, hearing a UK artist that raps, sings, do you know what I mean? Just do everything as a music video. And yeah, the fact that then she made songs with people like Kanye West, you know, John Legend, like she went international, and it kind of blew my mind, and it was like, she's from the UK. So yeah, shout out Estelle.
Shout out to style. I have two because, I'm a bit extra like that. So I'm thinking more international, and they're quite conventional, quite typical.
Okay.
First one is Beyonce.
Jeez,
Yeah.
Queen Bee.
Has to be, because I think Beyonce is just, she's extremely talented, but I think she just goes to show that talent can only take you so far. It's about being able to be on your craft and put in years and years of work. And I read that, I think just yesterday I was reading that she's surpassed Michael Jackson. She's about to surpass Madonna as of making the most from touring.
Honestly, because she does put in work. I mean,
she really does.
She was pregnant out here doing shows.
With twins. And she has been in the game for 20 years. That's for my whole life, basically.
For sure. Nah, same, to be fair.
Yeah. And my next person is Rihanna. I told you it's really conventional. Yes. But it's Rihanna because I feel like Rihanna is just the epitome of being unapologetic. And I love seeing black girls be unapologetic because she gets compared to, she really did used to get compared to Beyonce a lot.
Loads.
She used to get slut shamed, said that she was not talented, and especially with the Chris Brown situation, she used to get berated a lot for that.
Yeah.
And I think now, post, Fenty Beauty and Anti, she's really praised a lot.
Yeah.
But one thing is she's remained the same. And there's a saying that the crowd that applauds your coronation will watch your beheading. And I just feel like, that's it. So if they don't like you, remain the same. When they like you, remain the same.
I hear that.
You're lit.
Defo, I love that.
Unapologetic.
I'm gonna have to quote that still.
Yeah. Note it down.
Wicked. I like that.
Yes. So this has been a very insightful conversation.
Definitely.
And I think I mentioned it earlier, a lot of the views you expressed were similar to mine. So it just goes to show this is something that needs to be talked about.
Therefore, conversation will make the journey so much easier and just bring things to light. So healthy discussions.
Yeah, we need that dialogue. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And talking to us. It's been amazing. I've been Tia Cham, and I've been amazing too.
The Backlash Against The Bland podcast is supported by The Space. It's hosted by me, Bethany Slinn, creative practitioner at Free Radical, produced by Fabio Thomas, animated by the amazing Malika Holder, designed by Bradley Morrison, and editing and video is done by Pete Styles. In the description below the podcast, there is a place to leave your feedback, and please do. This is a two-way dialogue. If you do so by November the 5th, you could have the chance of appearing in our Who Runs Brum podcast, so get feedbacking. The next episode will be released on the 29th of October, asking the question, does art endanger your mental health?